The 6 phases of ascension to 5D, video number 7. This is the final video in this series. This is a proven 6-step process to shift into 5D, and it will permanently allow you to transform your 3D self into your 5D unlimited higher self. Hi, this is Mahadeva, the Thunder Wizard, and this is the thunderwizard.com YouTube channel. And again, I am here only to do one thing, which is to give you the tools, the practical tools that you can use to transform yourself. Listening to me talk, I'm glad that you do. I'm glad that me ranting and raving can be helpful, but the real transformation comes from doing the work. And so stay till the end of this video so I can tell you exactly what you can do to accomplish what I'm accomplishing. So this 6-step process is something that I have been doing. I am in the midst of doing. I am transforming. There are things that are changing with me physically that I can't even begin to quantify. I am changing on a physical level. My body is able to process emotions and other stimuli. I'm able to heal my body faster than before. And that's just on the physical level. Then there's the things that are happening emotionally and psychologically. I don't know how many lifetimes of karma I have been able to burn through. I honestly don't know. But it's been numerous lifetimes of karma. I have been able and am continuing to do this process of going in and restructuring, reformatting my identity, my hard drive, and I am downloading, replacing my 3D identity with an unlimited divine 5D identity, and it's having huge ramifications on my life. So this is a process I myself am going through. I am sharing with you what I am doing, and it's working. So this is the final video in the series, at least for now. And there are 6 phases in this process, and this final phase is where you are able to release the attachments on a psychological level to the programming. It is important that each one of these steps in each one of these phases be done thoroughly. A lot of people can read the 6 phases and maybe intellectualize that they've done it. Oh yeah, I've done it. How do I know you've done it? Oh, I read through it. Yeah, I read through it. It only took me a few minutes, and I thought and I did one, and then I did phase 2, and I did phase 3. So that's not how it works. If you think that's what's happening, unfortunately, that's not how this works. This is an actual shift and a process that each of these phases you must go through them. So let's go through each of the 6 phases, and then we'll focus on the last one. So the first one is to identify limiting 3D false ego traps in your psyche. Second phase is overcoming 3D false ego survival mechanisms. Phase 3 is initiating the transfer of 5D self into the current 3D psyche. Phase 4 is exploring your limiting 3D programs in your unconscious mind. Phase 5 is preparing 3D limiting programs for permanent deletion. And number 6 is deleting 3D limiting programs and making room for your 5D continued higher self download. So this is where we're at in 6. This is where, there's probably going to be, because the universe doesn't just stop at any given point. I mean, everything is always continuing and growing and evolving. So once I've gotten past this 6th phase, and I'll let you know what 7, 8, 9, 10, what the rest of those phases are. But this has to be done up until this point in order for your 5D higher self to really be able to come in and replace the limited 3D psyche. Right? Let's walk through each one of them again, just so you have an understanding. It's good to repeat this. I got a really great comment yesterday from somebody who said, I was listening to you and I finally got it. I finally realized I can't change 3D with 3D. That you have to have 5D tools to change 3D. So it takes a while for this information to get in. So it's good to hear it more than once. Let's walk through each one of the phases. Number one, identify limiting 3D false ego traps in your psyche. In this first phase, you become aware that you are limited. You fully accept that you are trapped in a 3D matrix. You accept the reality that you are living in an illusion. You can call it a matrix, you can call it a computer program, I really don't care what you call it. But the end result is the same. You are trapped in an illusion and you are forced to follow the rules of that 3D. Now, 3D is a challenging place to be. It's lonely, it's frightening, it can be very painful, and it's because you are separated from the infinity that is your essence. Every single soul that becomes human, your essence is infinite and unbounded, but in the third dimension, you can become disconnected from that, and you can completely identify with the feeling of isolation that you have. And it's very challenging, very painful. So in the first phase, you acknowledge that, you stop denying that, and you become aware that you are in that. And that will give you an awareness that you do not have the power to shift, to change out of any 5D. You just have this overwhelming awareness of that. You become aware that you have programs, the way that your parents treated you. Literally, your brain is entrained from ages 0 to 2. What happens during those first 2 years will determine the rest of your life. You know, I've said it before, but it's absolutely true. You've got 2 years. You say to parents, you've got 2 years to get it right. Once you've got past 2 years, if you haven't done it right, there's no going back. That brain has been entrained into those thought patterns. It's been entrained to respond. It has been entrained with all kinds of assumptions. And it may be impossible, will be impossible in the third dimension to get rid of that. So accepting that everything you do is a reaction. You know, again, you'll hear you can change your reality with your thoughts. That's not possible. Your thoughts are reactions. They are reactions to stimuli deep in your unconscious. People say, if you change your emotions, if you have positive, happy emotions, positive, happy things will come to you. Well, I mean, there's a superficial truth to that. Yeah, if I walk into a party and I'm in a good mood, people are more likely to want to come and talk to me. But trying to this is why people take drugs. This is why people drink, so that they can be in a better mood. That doesn't change the reality of their life. And the idea that you're this passive person and that your value is based on whatever feeling you have at the moment, that the universe rewards you based on your temporary, superficial, reactive feelings, is extremely devaluing. So that's not going to work. So you can't think your way out of 3D because thinking is a 3D process. It's a reaction. You can't feel your way out of it because feelings are reactions. What are feelings reactions to? To the programming. You've been programmed to respond mostly with shame. We live in a society that is shame-based, and that has been indoctrinated into us over thousands of years by the ruling elite, because shame is that, you've seen that, dogs work, shame dogs, bad dog, you get a dog to do it by shaking your finger at it. Elephants, when they're little babies, they are beat constantly, and then they are, a tiny little rope will be put around their little, their foot, and then tied to a tree. So every time they try to get away, they can't because there's this tree. And then by the time they're full-grown, massive adult elephants, you just tie a string around their massive foot and tie it to a stick put in the ground. They will feel the string on their foot and they won't even bother trying to leave. Shame is what binds us and allows you to be controlled. So your thoughts and your feelings are responses to that internal shame. That's why you can't think your way or feel your way out of it. And the assumptions that are built into you, you respond to those. You don't even realize you don't have to take action based on your assumptions. You believe that you live in an empty, cruel universe. You've been shown that. Your experience has told you that. Other people have told you that. Religion has told you that God is angry and is a narcissist and will kill you if you don't do exactly what he says. Not only will he not kill you, he will torture you forever if you don't do exactly what he says and love him and fear him. Fear, shame. These are the assumptions that create your thoughts, create your feelings, and create your assumptions. And your assumptions drive your actions. But you don't even know that you don't have to. You don't have to act based on your assumptions. Your assumption tells you have an empty, cold universe and blah, 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 and you can decide to act differently. You don't know that. So that's phase one, coming to accept you're completely powerless over this 3D prison. Phase two is overcoming 3D false ego survival mechanisms. So in phase two, you choose, because nothing can take away your power of choice. Usually the choices you make are passive. You have some kind of emotional input that you react to and you take action based on that. That's why people are always asking me, how can I get over my fear so I can take a certain action? And I always say, when did I say you were supposed to get over your fear? Your fear is just a reaction. Take action regardless of how you feel. So in phase two, you start to accept that in order to let go of this 3D prison, there must be some force out there that is beyond the 3D. Whether you believe it's there, you feel it's there, you know it's there, logically you come to the conclusion the only way out is there has to be a force out there that will give me the power to do things differently. So you have to be there. You can't then connect to that force until you first understand that force is necessary. People come to me all the time on the channel and they want this and they want that. And, usually lots of times somebody, if they're immature or they suffer from entitlement, and on some of the live streams, I'll say, you need a teacher. And they'll say, no, I'm my own teacher. Well, my thought is, so you don't know anything. And so with all of that lack of nothing knowledge, you're going to teach yourself. You're going to teach yourself something you don't know with all of your lack of knowledge. And that's where you're at. So if you think you can think your way out of 3D, you're wrong. You have to accept that there must be some force out there that can come and give you what you don't need. So those first two phases are very challenging to the ego and they're very frightening, but they're absolutely necessary. And then phase three, you initiate transfer of your 5D self into your current psyche. So you have your true self, which is not bound by all of the 3D programming. That is just a temporary character that you created in order to be in 3D. But you aren't from 3D, you are from higher dimensions. You are a light being. You are a being of infinite light and love and energy and consciousness, and you have squished yourself down into 3D, and then you've hypnotized yourself into believing this so you could experience it. So now you have to get that true part of you that is infinite. that is all knowing, that is all powerful, that is all loving, that is pervades every part of the universe, that is in fact divine, that is a deity. You now need to drop your ego attachment to the third dimension, which is going to be very difficult because your 3D identity believes it's necessary in order to survive. All of the things you hate about your life, your lack of health, your lack of love, your lack of prosperity, your loneliness, your fears, all of the things that you identify as yourself, you believe you need to be that in order to survive. One of the greatest fears I had as I went through this process was that I was afraid I was going to disappear. It was very frightening. But I realized that that's what had to happen. As I knew myself, had to disappear. The good news is as I've continued to disappear, I am more and more alive and more myself than ever. So it's a false fear, but it's a very real one. In these first two phases, that's where people are at. They're dealing with that. So the third phase, you then begin the process of initiating transfer of 5D self into the current 3D psyche. And that is done by reaching out. And one of the ways I do this is through interdimensional meditation, which we have a course up here, thunderwizard.com. Subscribe to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong and do the interdimensional meditations. You'll be able to learn how to do that on your own, but you can follow the guided meditations. I guide you through how to do that. You can reach out to higher dimensional beings who will help you to interact and connect with your higher self. They are literally waiting, and they have nothing else that they have on their schedule. They are surrounding Earth because Earth is going through a birthing process, and higher dimensional beings, they literally have completely cleared their schedule for you, for this very thing, to give you the ability to download your higher self, to erase your limited 3D self, because 3D is over. That 3D programming won't work anymore because 3D isn't going to exist anymore. So what ends up happening is you reach out and you say to your 5D self, I can't, but you can. And you say to your 5D self, I want you to come in and take over my 3D psyche. And it sounds, worse than it is, because it's not something outside of you, it's you. You are waking up to your true self, and that true self will begin to replace the false character. You'll have the same experience that I used to have as an actor, which is I would read the play, I would memorize my part, I would think about what was the backstory of this person, what do they want out of life, why are they doing things, what are their fears, what are their strengths, and I would create an identity. And then when I would go on stage, I would just simply shift over into that identity. And of course, I knew all the lines, and so all of the emotions and reactions would just be normal. And people would say, wow, you're such a great actor. How do you fake that? And I'm like, I'm not faking it. I was actually that person for 2 hours or whatever it was. But then I was able to flip it off. Turn it off. That's not who I am. I'm not pretending to be a character. I actually go into that created backstory. I go into it and I become it. And then there's no acting involved. I just react to whatever stimulus is given to me. And so, but as an actor, you go, okay, that's over, and you can turn it off. You can go in and out of that character whenever you want. You have complete control over deciding to live in that character's mind or to live in your own mind. Now you're going to have that ability because you aren't having some outside entity come and take over you. You are waking up to who you were before you decided to be this 3D character. And you get to rewrite the script. All right, so that's 3, initiating the transfer of 5D self into current 3D psyche. Phase 4, exploring your limited 3D programs in your unconscious mind. So now that you have the ability to get some distance, at least a little bit, you can separate from your programming. you can now watch how you're interacting. You can see what you're doing, and you can start cataloging. Oh, so my fear of this, my fear of intimacy makes me afraid to ask women out. My fear of being truly loved makes me seek out people who are emotionally unavailable or abusive. Because my parents were abusive, I conflate abuse with love. You start to see all of the things that you do, and you start to catalog them, and you start to see how you've been damaging yourself and damaging others as well. But first, you see how you damage yourself with the shame, the devaluation program, all of that. So that is phase 4. You explore your limiting 3D programs in your unconscious mind. Now we get to 5, which is preparing 3D limited programs for permanent deletion. When you get to 5, now you're really aware, but you also realize you can't stop. You now watch yourself as you go into situations, as you wake up in the morning and you're having a horrible day, or you walk around feeling guilty or feeling unworthy, and you start to be aware that you just feel like this all the time. Why do I have this feeling all the time? Well, it's a survival mechanism. It's a choice that you're doing on a deeply unconscious level. You're not consciously aware of it. You now start to become aware. You've cataloged all these things, and now you're in a place where you want this gone. You want this 3D programming, the limited, devaluing programming that's been limiting you and creating all the pain and misery in your life. You want it gone. So you become ready. So you can't have it deleted until you're actually ready to let go of it, because bear in mind, this is your identity. You will be attached to it. Your unconscious 3D psyche will do everything to keep you doing these same self-protection mechanisms. And you're not going to just be able to cavalierly go, oh, I'm not going to be that way anymore. I'm not going to be that way anymore. Do you know anybody that's able to do that? No. It takes a lot of work. People call about shadow work and all that. This is just another way of saying, looking at how you choose to respond to life out of your fear, out of your devaluation, out of your limitation, out of your warped, distorted desire for love that's all backwards. And that if you think if you give those things up, that you will disappear, you will die, you won't get your needs met, you won't survive. And so at this phase, I think, what are we at? At 5, you become so disillusioned with how you've been living life that you want them gone. I am ready. I am ready to have these limiting programs deleted from my file. And then you're now at phase 6, which is where we're at, deleting limiting 3D programs and making room for your 5D higher self complete download. So now that you have come to the realization that you want these limiting beliefs, acting out of fear, acting out of greed, acting out of devaluation, acting out of whatever it is that you act out of, and knowing that you can't stop doing those things because it's a 3D survival program that's on a loop, you can't turn it off. Now you have gained access to your 5D unlimited self. The download has already occurred within you. There's kind of like this battle going on between your 3D self and your higher 5D self. And in the 6th and final stage, you consciously, to your 5D self, you say, I am ready for you to take every single limiting program out of me. I don't want any of it. I am prepared to die to whoever I thought I was, and I'm prepared to have you come in, your higher self, or if you want to deal with a deity, Shiva, Kali, Odin, Thor, whoever it is that you work with, you can have that deity come in and take those things away from you. However you look at it, you're asking a 5D power that has more power than you do that isn't bound by the 3D to come in and do it. Now, your higher self, as well as any deity, as well as any other light being, they will never come to you unilaterally and change you. They will never come to you and take away your self-protection mechanisms, because if they did, it could very well kill you. It would definitely make you go insane. You would feel so frightened and so abused, even though they're doing what's right for you. It's unsolicited. This is why unsolicited advice is always abusive. You have to ask. If somebody asks for help, then you give it to them. Your higher self is waiting for you to ask for help. When you ask your higher self, or whatever deity it is, Odin, Shiva, Kali, Thor, whomever, when you ask a higher dimensional being for help getting rid of these things, that power will swoop in and will then begin to transfer your higher dimensional self into your 3D body and mind and your psyche, and your body will raise itself up. And as I said, I'm experiencing changes in my physical body. For instance, I used to, every time I went surfing, because my thought is, I'm almost 60, so it's hard work. It's a lot of paddling, a lot of work on the shoulders and the back and the lower back and all of that. And I would have to get a massage every time afterwards because I'd be so stiff and so sore. And I'm not having that issue anymore. I'm able to heal things in my body sometimes instantly. There's all kinds of things going on where I'll leave my physical body and I will connect to 5D, and I will hover over my own body and put energy into my body. And as it's the strangest thing, as I'm lying there, I'll feel all this energy going into my body, and my 3D self will be really getting off on that, and my 5D self will be consciously sending energy to my body. It's the craziest thing. And then I wake up and I'm healthier, happier, stronger. It's an amazing life, and that's just on the physical level. There's all kinds of stuff happening on the psychological level that I'm not ready to talk about. But that's where I'm at. So I am doing these 6 phase ascension processes, and it's not something that is one and done. You have to go through it once. You'll have to go back and do it deeper and more deeply each time you do it. And in my experience, just intellectually knowing these 6 phases probably isn't going to give you the know-how how to do it. So that's why I have, as you see in the bottom here, I have now provided a 6-month Ascension apprenticeship program. You can go to thunderwizard.com and you can subscribe to that. When you subscribe to that, again, it's a 6-month process. We meet for 1 hour for 6 months, 1 per month for 6 months. I know exactly what questions to ask you to get to the root of your issues and your beliefs, your assumptions. I give you very specific energy practices. I may give you an interdimensional meditation course. I may give you a Qigong thing. I may give you, an assignment where you write and catalog things out. I may give you something to do based on a block that you have to go and take a certain action. Go ask that girl out, go create that new business, whatever it is. So it's tailored specifically to you. And at the very least, by the end of those 6 months, you will have a framework. You will have some specific tools that you can do. By the way, if you are subscribed at this 6-month Ascension program, you will have access to the Warrior 90-Day Lightning Qigong. You'll be able to do that because I'll be telling you, okay, you need to be doing the morning phase combined with this, that, the other thing. You'll have access to the interdimensional meditation course, and you'll have access to a bunch of other stuff as a result of that. But trust me, you'll have no shortage of things to do. And I will be, again, tailoring to you specifically, okay, you need to be doing more interdimensional meditation. You need to be doing more Qigong. You need to be doing a mantra, something along those lines. So that's that for today, and we're done. This is video number 7 in the series. I may come back and go through them again. Maybe there will be more stuff to come, but whatever it is that I'm doing and learning, once I've gotten some mastery over it, I come and I teach it to you. That's how I do things. For the first time in the history of the human race, for the first time in the history of the human race, human beings are now able to consciously do this. This was something that was never, ever available to humans before. For the first time in history, humans, the veil for humans has been torn open, and they can access directly what used to be the muses, the spirit guides, the ancestors, the elves, the angels. Now you can deal directly with them. They will reveal themselves to you as they are. They are just souls exactly like you, but they're operating in a higher dimension. They've known you for millions and millions of years. They have access to you. They've been with you your whole life, and they now are revealing themselves to you. The watchers, the seers, the gods, you now have direct access to them, and they are your friends. They're your family, and they will be here for you in ways you can't even imagine. You'll be able to feel them, communicate with them, and it'll completely shift your understanding of this universe you live in. So I offer all of that stuff to you. Again, all of the links are here. Check them out. Again, I've got my books, Interdimensional Revolution, which talks about this, as well as my book, Extraterrestrials Are Coming to Earth, as well as my book, The Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life, as well as Odin Says Jesus Was a Coward, and more, which you can go and see at audiobooks.thunderwizard.com. And if you're outside of the U.S., click the U.S. site so you can go directly to it. And you can also just go to michaelwilliamdenny.com, D-E-N-N-E-Y, and you'll see all of my books there. And there you go, my friends. Courses.thunderwizard.com, all of my courses, all of the services that I make available to you. So I extend all that to you. I hope that's helpful to you. I will be back again with more videos, of course. A lot of things are going on right now, so I'm sure I'll have things to say about it. Okay, my friends, thank you all so much for showing up. I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.